I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. On the Senate floor Wednesday, Senator Tom Carper reacted to Tuesday's school shooting in Texas. 19 children and 2 adults were killed after a gunman opened fire at Robb Elementary in Uvalde. Carper called the devastating shooting, quote, our national nightmare. The Delaware senator urged lawmakers to make common-sense gun law reforms. This mass shooting was the most recent in a string of shootings that renewed the country's gun control debate. Let's listen in for more.
Mr. President, this week, the solar industry of this country is at something in naval aviation that we call refusal speed. Now, what is refusal speed? Refusal speed is the speed at which an aircraft continues to pick up speed on its takeoff roll or abort that takeoff roll and remain on the ground. That's what refusal speed is. In recent years, America's solar energy industry has been rolling down the runway, picking up speed every day. Unfortunately, there are forces at large today that threaten to abort the takeoff roll and ground this vital industry. And today I join my colleagues in rising to express our grave concerns about a challenge that threatens to bring the solar industry to a halt, not from climate change deniers, but from our own federal government. As we speak, Mr. President, the U.S. Chamber, not the U.S. Chamber, but the U.S. Commerce Department is investigating whether solar energy products coming from Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, and Cambodia should be subject to the same tariffs as are currently in place for products coming here from China. This investigation is currently freezing access to these products for American businesses that import and deploy them across our countries. And the threat of astronomical tariffs loom large. As a result, a number of our colleagues are deeply concerned about the impact of the commerce investigation, not only on our solar industry, but also on our ability to combat the climate crisis and meet President Biden's bold climate goals. We're already in danger of running out of time to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. I know that. The presiding officer, all our colleagues realize that. Now this investigation threatens to create an unforced error in our commitment to protect our planet. We don't have time for an unforced error. We're not waiting for the climate crisis to arrive. The climate crisis is here, and it's here now. And without bold action, our country and our planet will continue to feel ever more devastating impacts. Already in the last year alone, we witnessed wildfires burning millions of acres in California, Montana, Arizona, and other western states. Fires as big as my state, The same hurricane that knocked out access to power and water for 1 million people in Louisiana and Mississippi then went on to produce flash floods in New Jersey and New York. People there actually drowned in their basements, unable to escape the torrent of floodwater. To prevent further devastating irreversible effects of climate change and protect our planet for future generations, we need to continue transitioning our nation and our planet away from fossil fuels. Among other things, we should be doing everything in our power to lift up innovators in the solar industry, to boldly cut emissions from our power sector, and to attack this climate crisis head on. But unfortunately, the Commerce Department's investigation threatens to hamstring one of the strongest weapons in our fight: clean, renewable energy. The prospect of as much as a 250% tariff on solar products will have an immediate, disastrous impact on a leading renewable energy source for our nation. Effectively, we would be punishing the very green industry that's helping to lead the charge to curb emissions and further reduce our nation's reliance on fossil fuels. We'd be punishing the hundreds of thousands of American workers who work in the solar industry. In fact, the Solar Energy Industry Association estimates that this investigation, currently underway, threatens 70,000 jobs between now and 2025. 70,000 jobs. But more than that, we've heard from businesses in the solar industry who say that the very threat of these tariffs is already freezing imports needed to build solar infrastructure and bolster our defense against the climate crisis. The idea that solar companies may have to sit around waiting for January 2023 to come around just to see if industry-rocking tariffs will be announced, that alone is destabilizing. It's worse than destabilizing. It already risks bringing investments to a standstill while adding uncertainty to the solar market and pushing utility companies to slow their transition away from fossil fuels out of fear for a change in American climate priorities. Because that's what's at stake here. What do we value? Are we committed to a clean energy future, a transition to a 100% carbon pollution-free electric sector by 2035, and to protecting American jobs and lives from an impending climate crisis? Or are we okay with the status quo, with holding back our renewable energy prospects and continuing to let politics dictate our planet's future? Across this nation, Americans are feeling the effects of climate change in every storm surge and every coastal flood. We certainly see that in my home state of Delaware. We're the lowest lying state in America. The seas around us are rising. My state is sinking. Americans across the country are ready to do whatever it takes to save our planet and create a ton of jobs at the same time. I implore the Biden administration to swiftly expedite its investigation rather than drag this process out and add to the uncertainty of businesses across our country, and to rule out retroactive job-killing tariffs in the process. In this moment, we have to act with greater urgency to drive down emissions. In this moment, we have to unleash the power of American clean energy, and in this moment, we need to protect our planet for generations to come. To fall short of our commitment would be to let down all of those who inherit this planet from us. And make no mistake, future generations will look back at this critical moment in our nation's history to see what we did when our planet was on the line. Heaven forbid, they look back and see our own hand forced this error. Again, I implore this administration to end this investigation, lift up the solar industry, and help us meet our nation's climate goals. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield back the remainder of my time.